AITA for ending my marriage after my wife rejected me in bed for a month. I'm using a throwaway account because this involves real people and I don't want it traced back to me. This is going to be extremely long, but I promise the ending is worth reading every word. I'll leave a TLDR at the end for anyone who wants it, but you'll honestly want to read the whole thing. A little background on me. I'm a 34-year-old man, and I work in commercial sales for a large industrial equipment company in Dallas. I started from absolutely nothing. I grew up in a trailer park with a single mom who worked 3 jobs just to put food on the table. I never knew my father. I wore hand-me-down clothes to school and was constantly made fun of for being poor. This background is important because it explains why I worked so incredibly hard to build the life I have now and why what happened hurt so much. Growing up poor teaches you things middle-class people never understand. That money doesn't just appear out of nowhere. Someone has to earn it. That you have to value what you have because you remember what it's like to have nothing. And most importantly, that financial security isn't a guarantee, so you'd better work your ass off for it. I put myself through college working nights in a warehouse. I graduated with a business degree and $40,000 in student loans. I started in sales making $35,000 base plus commission. I lived in a studio apartment, drove a beat-up Civic, and ate peanut butter sandwiches for lunch every day, but I was determined never to be poor again. The great thing about sales is that if you're good and you work harder than everyone else, you can make a lot of money. I was both. I spent my nights studying our products, learning about the competition, and building relationships with clients. While other guys my age were out partying, I was working. Within 5 years, I was making $85,000. By year 7, I broke 6 figures. At 29, I was promoted to senior account manager, handling our largest industrial clients. That's when I started making $130,000, then $150,000, and now I'm at $165,000 base, plus bonuses that bring in another $25,000 to $30,000. I bought my first house at 28. Nothing fancy, just a 3-bedroom in a decent neighborhood for $185,000. I fixed it up myself on weekends. I learned electrical, plumbing, tiling, and turned it into something nice. 2 years later, I sold it for $240,000. That's when I met Nicole. I was 31, she was 26. We met at a company barbecue. She was the sister of a co-worker's girlfriend. Absolutely gorgeous. Long blonde hair, a perfect smile, the kind of woman who turns heads. She worked part-time at a boutique and lived with 2 roommates in a small apartment. Looking back, I should have noticed certain things while we were dating. Like how she never offered to pay for anything, not a coffee, not lunch, not gas when we drove somewhere. She'd pull this thing where she'd forget her wallet or suddenly have to use the restroom right when the check came. I didn't mind at first, because I was making good money and she was barely scraping by on retail pay. I thought I was being a gentleman. I didn't realize she was testing me, seeing how much she could get out of me, how much I was willing to give. She also had a habit of constantly mentioning expensive things her friends had. Jessica's boyfriend bought her this incredible necklace. Qley's dating a doctor who takes her to the nicest restaurants. Madison's guy surprised her with a trip to Napa Valley. Always with a tone of slight disappointment that I wasn't doing the same. But she was also sweet and affectionate. She seemed to genuinely care about me. She'd listen to me talk about work, ask about my day, and make me feel like I mattered to someone. After years of focusing solely on my career, having someone beautiful and loving in my life felt amazing. We dated for 2 years. During that time, my career took off. I landed 3 massive accounts that significantly boosted my income. I bought myself a Ford F-150 pickup, something I'd wanted since I was a kid. I started looking at bigger houses. That's when Nicole started dropping hints about marriage. Nothing direct at first, just comments about how nice it would be to have a real home together, how tired she was of living with roommates, or that her biological clock was ticking and she wanted to start a family. I was ready. I loved her, I was financially stable, and I wanted to build a life with someone. So I proposed. The ring cost $8,500. She picked it out herself. She spent 3 hours in the jewelry store before settling on a 1.2-carat solitaire. Not too flashy, but enough to show that her man had good taste. I put it on my credit card and paid it off in 6 months. The wedding planning was my first real glimpse of who Nicole was under that sweet facade. She wanted everything to be perfect. The venue was $12,000 just for the hall. The flowers, $3,200. Her dress, $2,800. The photographer, for $1,500. Every vendor was the most expensive option, because it's our special day and we only get one wedding. When I suggested cheaper alternatives, she'd get upset, asking if I didn't think she was worth it, if I didn't want our wedding to be beautiful, if I was going to be cheap on the most important day of our lives. The total cost came to $28,000. I paid for every last penny. I thought it was worth it because I was marrying the woman I loved, and we were going to build an incredible life together. What I didn't know was that the wedding was just the beginning of her spending spree. Nicole quit her job exactly 2 weeks after our wedding. She didn't discuss it with me first. She just came home one day and announced she'd put in her notice. "I want to focus on making our house a real home," she said. "Maybe start an interior design or cooking blog. Build something meaningful instead of just working retail for someone else." It sounded reasonable. She'd been complaining about her job for months, saying her boss was terrible and the pay was trash. I was earning enough to support us both, and the idea of coming home to a wife who could focus on domestic things sounded appealing. The house we bought cost $420,000. It was a stretch for my budget, but Nicole insisted we needed something suitable for entertaining and in a good neighborhood to raise our future children. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, nice kitchen, decent yard. The monthly payment was $2,100, including insurance and taxes. The blog lasted exactly 3 weeks. She set up a WordPress site. She wrote 4 posts about creating your dream space on any budget. Ironic, considering ours was apparently unlimited. And then, she just stopped. When I asked about it, she said she needed to find her authentic voice and wasn't ready to put herself out there yet. Instead, her daily routine became something like this. 8 a.m. I wake up, shower, get dressed for work, make coffee. 8:30 a.m. I leave for work. Nicole is still asleep. 10 a.m. She wakes up, spends an hour on her phone in bed. 11 a.m. She gets up, maybe showers, but definitely spends 45 minutes on her makeup. 12 p.m. She goes to her yoga class. Membership, $149 a month. 1:30 p.m. She meets friends for lunch, always at expensive places. 3 p.m. She goes shopping, just browsing, but she always buys something. 5 p.m. She comes home, changes into pajamas, turns on Netflix. 6:30 p.m. I get home to a messy house and no dinner. This went on for months. Every day, I'd come home hoping that maybe she'd cooked something, or cleaned, or done literally anything productive. Instead, I'd always find her on the couch with takeout containers from lunch, watching reality TV, and complaining about being bored. The spending was out of control. The card statements were insane. $340 at Target on things for the house, mostly candles and decorative pillows. $275 at Sephora because my foundation shade changed. $180 at Lululemon for new yoga clothes every week. When I'd gently suggest that maybe we should create a budget, she'd get defensive. "I'm not spending that much. These are necessary expenses. You make plenty of money. Don't you want me to feel good about myself?" The most frustrating part was that she acted as if her spending was a contribution to the household, as if buying decorative pillows was equivalent to me working 50 hours a week to pay for them. But the financial stuff wasn't the worst of it. The worst was how our relationship started to change. Physical affection became rare. She'd pull away when I tried to hug her. Kisses were reduced to a quick peck on the cheek. She'd find excuses to go to bed early or stay up late so we wouldn't be in bed at the same time. When I tried to talk about anything serious, our finances, our future plans, having kids, she'd say she was too stressed or not in the mood for a heavy conversation. But she was never too stressed to spend 2 hours on the phone with her sister, complaining about how unfulfilled she felt. Never too tired to go out with friends, never too busy to spend hours on social media. I started to feel like a stranger in my own home, like I was just the guy who paid for everything while she lived her best life. The intimacy issues got really bad around our 1-year anniversary. That's when the rejection started. I'm not going to lie, the complete lack of physical intimacy was killing me. And I'm not just talking about sex, though that was part of it. I'm talking about basic affection, holding hands, cuddling on the couch, kisses that lasted longer than 2 seconds. All of it just vanished. At first, I thought it was a temporary thing, new marriage adjustments, stress from life changes, whatever. But weeks turned into months, and every attempt I made to reconnect physically was shut down. The excuses were creative, I'll give her that. I'm tired from my yoga class. I just showered and I don't want to get sweaty. I think I'm coming down with a cold. I have a headache from all the shopping I did today. The neighbors might hear us. I just ate, and I feel bloated. I have to get up early tomorrow. I'm stressed about what to make for dinner. Ironic, she never cooked. I don't feel confident in my body right now. Can we just cuddle? And then she'd be asleep instantly. After the 15th rejection, I started to wonder if I was losing my mind. Was it really happening this often, or was I just being overly sensitive? So, I downloaded a habit tracking app, the kind you use to log your water intake or exercise. I created a category called Intimacy Attempts and started marking every rejection. It felt weird and clinical to do it, but I needed to know if I was crazy or if it was as bad as it felt. The results were devastating. 31 attempts in 31 days, 30 rejections. But keeping track made me notice other patterns, too. How she'd reject any physical affection from me, but spend hours texting her friends for relationship advice. How she'd claim to be too tired for intimacy, but then stay up until 2 a.m. binge-watching Netflix. I also started noticing how she treated me in public. At dinners with friends, she'd openly mock me. John's always wanting me to cook, but I tell him that's what takeout is for. Laughter from everyone. John thinks I should get a job, but what's the point when he makes so much money? Another round of laughs. She talked about me like I was some controlling, old-fashioned husband for expecting a basic partnership in our marriage. And I would just sit there like an idiot because what was I supposed to do? Defend myself and look like the unreasonable one? Her friends were all the same type. Women who had married successful men and then stopped working to live off their husband's income. They would sit around and compare their husband's salaries, complaining about how demanding they were for expecting home-cooked meals or physical affection. Men just don't understand that we have our own needs, too. Nicole would say while spending my money on a $45 lunch. They think just because they work, we should be available for whatever they want, whenever they want it. The irony was unbelievable. I was working my ass off to support her lifestyle, and somehow I was the selfish one for wanting my wife to act like she actually liked me. The breaking point came one Saturday morning in late September. We were 8 months into our marriage, and I was logging rejection number 31. Saturday, September 23rd. I remember the exact date because it was the day I stopped being a doormat and started taking control of my life. Our twins, did I mention we have kids? Nicole got pregnant 3 months after the wedding, a boy and a girl, now 7. We're at my mom's for the weekend. It was the first time in weeks we had the house to ourselves. I woke up around 7:30, made coffee, and brought Nicole a cup in bed. She was already awake, scrolling through Instagram, probably looking at the amazing lives her friends were posting. I was genuinely trying to be romantic, not just looking for intimacy, but wanting to reconnect with my wife. I sat on the edge of the bed, started getting affectionate, telling her how beautiful she looked in the morning light. Without looking up from her phone, she said, "Seriously, it's barely 8 a.m. I haven't even finished my coffee." "I brought you coffee 10 minutes ago," I replied. "Well, I'm not done with it." "God, you're so pushy lately." Pushy for wanting affection from my wife on a Saturday morning when we finally had some privacy? When was the last time we were intimate? I asked her. She rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck. "I don't know, John. I don't keep a calendar of it like some kind of freak. It's been over a month. Marriage isn't just about intimacy. Maybe if you helped out more around the house instead of just working all the time, I'd be more in the mood." I looked around our bedroom. Her clothes were thrown everywhere. The vanity was covered in makeup. 3-day-old coffee cups sat on her nightstand. The "helping around the house" comment was rich coming from someone who treated our home like a self-cleaning hotel. "What exactly do you do all day?" I asked. Wrong question. She shot up in bed, alert and angry. "Excuse me? I run this house. I take care of the kids. I maintain our social life. Just because I don't bring home a paycheck doesn't mean I don't contribute. The kids are in school for 8 hours a day. The house is always a mess. We haven't had anyone over in months. What is it that you're running exactly?" I am not going to be interrogated in my own bedroom by someone who clearly doesn't appreciate what I do for this family. My bedroom? In the house I paid for with the money I earned? That's when something fundamental just clicked in my head. You're right, I said, standing up. I clearly don't appreciate what you do. Maybe we should have an honest conversation about what each of us really brings to this marriage. She got that smug look she always got when she thought she'd won an argument. Finally, yes, let's talk about that. She had no idea what was coming. I went downstairs, grabbed my laptop, and pulled up our bank statements, credit card bills, and yes, the tracking app. I came back and sat in the chair across from the bed. Okay, I said, opening the laptop. Let's start with financial contributions. The smug look started to fade. This year, I've earned $192,000, including bonuses. Your financial contribution to the household has been zero. Money isn't everything. I'm not finished. This year, your personal spending comes to $52,000. That is more than the median household income in America. It's more than I made at my first job out of college. She was shifting uncomfortably in the bed now. Let's talk about running the household. I do the grocery shopping every Sunday morning. I handle all the bills, the insurance, the taxes, and the maintenance. I do the laundry every weekend because otherwise, we wouldn't have clean clothes. I clean the bathrooms because you think it's gross. I take care of the kids. The kids are at school until 3:30. You pick them up, bring them home, and put on cartoons while you look at your phone. I help them with their homework when I get home at 6:30. I pack their lunches for the next day. I arrange doctor's appointments, parent-teacher conferences, and birthday parties because you're always too busy or not feeling well. Her face was pale. Now let's talk about the social life you claim to maintain. I just went through our calendar. Every dinner reservation, every family activity, every date night, I planned and paid for. The last thing you planned was your sister's birthday dinner, which I also paid for. I opened the tracking app and turned the screen toward her. And now, let's talk about intimacy. 31 days, 30 rejections. Not just sex, any physical affection. You have shut down every attempt I've made to connect with you as a husband. Her mouth was hanging open. So, help me understand, Nicole. You contribute no income. You do minimal housework and provide zero physical affection. You spend over $4,000 a month on personal expenses. You mock me in public and treat me like an annoyance in private. What, exactly, do you contribute to this marriage other than contempt for the man who funds your entire lifestyle? That's when the real Nicole finally revealed herself. The transformation was immediate and shocking. Gone was any pretense of a loving wife having a bad day. What emerged was someone I barely recognized. You know what? Screw you, John. You act like you're so perfect, but you're just a boring salesman who thinks money entitles him to sex whenever he wants it. There it was. 3 years of marriage, and she saw me as nothing more than a boring salesman. This is what I get for marrying someone so average. Jessica's husband owns 3 restaurants. Qley married a surgeon. Madison's boyfriend is in real estate and just bought her a BMW. What am I supposed to say when they ask what my husband does? Oh, he sells industrial equipment and expects me to be grateful. In that moment, I started laughing. Not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd. Average? I make more than 90% of the people in this country. I bought you a house, a car, and everything you own. I've given you a lifestyle most people can only dream of, but I'm average because I'm not a surgeon. It's not about the money. Of course, it's entirely about the money. You married me because I could fund your lifestyle. But now, because that lifestyle isn't impressive enough for your friends, you're withholding affection like it's a punishment. She was starting to get desperate, realizing she'd revealed too much. No, that's not it. Look, every marriage goes through rough patches. We can work on this. Work on what? Your complete lack of respect for me. Your resentment of the life I've provided for you. Your belief that I should be grateful to support a grown woman who contributes nothing. I closed the laptop and stood up. I'm not working on this anymore. I'm done being treated like a walking paycheck. I'm done living with someone who sees me as beneath her. I'm filing for divorce. The look of absolute panic that washed over her face was almost worth the 3 years of misery. You can't be serious, she whispered. I've never been more serious in my life. What came next was a masterclass in manipulation tactics. She went through every play in the book. First came the tears, real ones, streaming down her face. Please, don't do this. I love you. I know I haven't been the best wife, but I can change. People make mistakes. When, after 3 years of taking me for granted, after treating me like trash in front of our friends, after 30 straight rejections, after telling me I'm too average for you. Then came the bargaining. What if I got a job? What if I started contributing financially? What if I took on more of the household chores? What job, Nicole? You haven't worked in 3 years. You have no recent experience, no professional network, and no valuable skills. You'd be lucky to make $15 an hour, and we both know you think that's beneath you. I could see her doing the math in her head. Without my income, her entire lifestyle would have to change. Goodbye yoga classes, goodbye shopping sprees, goodbye expensive lunches with friends every day. We have children together. You can't just abandon your family over some marital problems. I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm leaving a wife who treats me with contempt. The kids will be better off seeing their father with someone who actually respects him, instead of watching their mother tear him down every day. That's when she tried to threaten me. If you divorce me, I'll take everything. The house, half your income, alimony. You'll end up broke and alone. I smiled for the first time in months. Actually, I've been talking to a lawyer for 6 weeks. Texas is a community property state, but it also allows for unequal division when one spouse has abandoned their marital duties. I have 3 documented years of financial irresponsibility, emotional neglect, and a lack of contribution to the household. Her face went completely white. More importantly, I've been setting aside money for months in a separate account. Income from consulting jobs you didn't know about because you never took an interest in my life. I've been working nights and weekends on side projects while you were watching Netflix. Side projects. Freelance sales consulting. I have clients who pay me $150 an hour to help them improve their sales processes. I did it all on nights and weekends, while you were spending my money and complaining about being bored. She was starting to realize this wasn't an emotional outburst. This was planned. I've documented every expense, every rejection, every time you belittled me in public. My lawyer says it's one of the strongest cases he's ever seen for limiting alimony. The desperation was intensifying. Wait, let's be rational about this. What if I start being more affectionate? What if I get a real job? What if I start cooking and cleaning like you want? You mean what if you start being a wife instead of a parasite? It's too late, Nicole. You've had 3 years to figure that out. Please, don't do this. I'll do anything, whatever you want. I'll sign whatever papers you want. I'll agree to any settlement. There's nothing you can do. You've shown me exactly who you are, and I finally believe you. I started walking toward the door. The papers will be filed Monday morning. I suggest you start thinking about what you're going to do with your life, because the free ride is officially over. As I left, I could hear her screaming that I would regret this, that no one would ever want me, that I was nothing without her. Nothing without her? The woman who hadn't contributed a single dollar to our household in 3 years was telling me I was nothing without her. That's when I knew I was making the right decision. The next few months were like watching a nature documentary about a predator losing its food source. Nicole's entire existence had been built around my income, and without it, everything started to collapse immediately. First, she tried to hire a shark of a divorce lawyer who promised to make me pay for abandoning my family. That lasted for exactly 1 consultation, when they realized she had no case for the lifestyle she expected to maintain. The lawyer told her the truth. Texas courts do not award permanent alimony to able-bodied adults who voluntarily quit working. She might get temporary support for a year or 2, but nothing close to the $4,000 plus a month she was used to. Then came the family pressure campaign. Her mom called me, crying about how I was destroying the family over temporary issues. Her sister sent me long texts telling me I was making a huge mistake. The best part, her friends started to drop her almost immediately. Turns out, when you can no longer afford expensive lunches and shopping trips, those friendships disappear pretty quickly. Nicole had to get a job. After 3 years of believing she was too good for retail, she ended up at Target making $14 an hour, part-time. The same store where she used to drop $300 in a single visit. She lasted 6 weeks before she was fired for being consistently late and calling in sick whenever she felt stressed. The next job was at a call center for $13 an hour, sitting in a cubicle taking customer service calls for 8 hours a day. The woman who used to mock my boring sales job was now reading scripts to angry customers about their cable bills. She had to move out of our house, which I kept because I could afford it on my own, and into a crappy apartment with a 22-year-old roommate who didn't appreciate Nicole's mature lifestyle needs. No more daily Starbucks runs. No more designer items. She went from spending $50,000 a year on personal expenses to earning $22,000 a year before taxes. But here's where the story gets really good. About 4 months after our divorce was finalized, I started dating again. I joined a few apps, met some nice women, nothing serious at first, until I met Lisa. Lisa is 31, works as a nurse practitioner at a pediatric clinic. She makes $98,000 a year. She owns her own townhouse. She drives a car that she bought and paid for herself. She has her own hobbies, her own friends, her own life, and most importantly, she treats me like I'm actually worth something. When I pick her up for dinner, she's ready on time and genuinely happy to see me. She offers to split the bill. I usually pay, but the fact that she offers means everything. She asks me about my work because she's actually interested in my life. She values effort instead of taking it for granted. Physical affection is natural and enthusiastic. She actually wants to be near me. Imagine that, dating someone who enjoys your company and shows it. Nicole found out about Lisa through mutual friends and completely lost her mind. She started texting me at all hours, saying I was destroying our family for a rebound. That Lisa was probably just using me for my money. The irony was incredible, that I would realize what I'd lost and come crawling back. Meanwhile, the kids were thriving on our 50-50 custody arrangement. They actually preferred staying with me because I provided a stable home, consistent rules, and wasn't constantly stressed about money. Plus, they really liked Lisa, who treated them like real people and not accessories to her lifestyle. Nicole, on the other hand, was in a full-blown spiral. She lost the call center job because of her bad attitude with customers. She couldn't afford her apartment rent. Her roommate kicked her out for not paying her share of the bills. At 32 years old, she had to move back in with her parents. Yes, her parents' house. The same people she used to mock for settling for a middle-class life and having no ambition. That's when the real begging started. 8 months after our divorce was finalized, I got a call from an unknown number at 9:30 on a Tuesday night. I almost didn't answer, but something made me. It was Nicole, and she was crying harder than I've ever heard anyone cry. "John, please, I need to talk to you. I'm in serious trouble." "What do you want, Nicole?" "I've made some terrible mistakes. I owe money I don't have. I can't get approved for an apartment. I can't even get a decent car loan. My credit is completely destroyed." It turns out that after losing her jobs and having to move home, she tried to maintain her lifestyle by racking up credit card debt. $18,000 across 4 different cards, buying clothes, meals, and spa treatments she couldn't afford because, in her words, she deserved to feel good about herself. The minimum payments alone were $400 a month, and her new job at a clothing store was maybe bringing in $1,800 a month. Yes, back to retail, the work she used to claim was beneath her. Debt collectors were calling her parents' house constantly. Her credit score had dropped to 480. She couldn't qualify for anything, no apartment, no car loan, not even a decent cell phone plan. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I was a fool. I didn't realize what I had with you. I didn't appreciate how good you were to me. Please, can we try again? Can we fix this? I let her talk for a while. I listened to the desperation, the promises to change, the claims that she finally understood what she had lost. Then, I started to laugh. Not a cruel laugh, but a genuine laugh at the sheer irony of the situation. "You want to know something incredible, Nicole? You're calling me from your childhood bedroom, begging for help, because you can't even afford your own phone bill. Do you see the irony? Please, don't be cruel. I know I hurt you, but I'm trying to fix it." "Cruel? I'm being honest. You spent 3 years treating me like dirt because you thought you deserved better. Now you're finding out what you actually deserve." She was crying even harder now. "I was wrong about everything. I was so wrong. You were an amazing husband, and I threw it all away. I was stupid and selfish, and I threw away the best thing in my life. You're absolutely right. I was a good husband to someone who didn't deserve it. Can you just help me this one time? I'll pay you back. I swear." I just need enough to get back on my feet. Help you? Like you helped me when I was working 60-hour weeks to pay for your lifestyle? Like you helped me feel wanted in my own home? Like you helped preserve any shred of dignity in our marriage? That's different. No, it's exactly the same. You didn't support me when I needed emotional support because you didn't think I deserved it. Now I don't think you deserve my financial support. What about the kids? They need both of their parents to be stable. The kids have stability with me. They are happy, healthy, and they no longer have to watch their mother treat their father like garbage. In fact, they love spending time with Lisa and me because we actually enjoy each other's company. There was a long pause. I could hear her trying to compose herself. John, please, I'll do anything. I'll sign a prenup. I'll get a real career. I'll never ask you for money again. Just give me one more chance to prove I can be the wife you deserve. Nicole, let me explain something to you. I'm with someone now who appreciates me from day one. Someone who has her own career, her own money, her own goals. Someone who treats me like a partner, not a paycheck. I can be that person now. I've learned. You've learned that actions have consequences. That's not the same as becoming a good person. So that's it. You're just going to let me suffer. I'm going to let you figure out your own life. You know, like an adult. Like I had to do when you were rejecting me every night and spending my money every day. She was quiet for a moment. Then her voice changed. It became hard and bitter. You know what? Fine. You think you're so much better than me now? You're still the same boring, average guy I married. Lisa is probably just settling for you because at her age, she can't do any better. And there it was. Even when she was begging for help, even when her life was completely falling apart, she couldn't resist trying to hurt me. You're right about one thing, I said calmly. I am the same man. The same man who worked his ass off to build a life you took for granted. The same man who tried to love you despite your complete lack of respect. The same man who finally developed enough self-respect to walk away from someone who treated him like trash. I hate you for this. Good. That makes it easier. I hung up and blocked her number. 2 weeks later, I heard through the grapevine that she was dating some guy she met at the clothing store where she worked. A 26-year-old college dropout who lived with his parents and worked part-time at GameStop. Apparently, she was happy to be with someone who understood her and didn't judge her for her past mistakes. They broke up after 3 weeks when she realized he expected her to pay for dates since she was older and more stable. Last I heard, she was working at another call center. She was living in a studio apartment in the worst part of town and was still single, still bitter, still convinced her problems were everyone else's fault. Meanwhile, Lisa and I just bought a house together. We split the mortgage 50-50 on a beautiful 4-bedroom home in an amazing neighborhood. We cook dinner together most nights. We plan vacations together that we both contribute to. We have incredible intimacy because she actually wants to be with me. Lisa adores my kids, and they adore her. They've told me multiple times how much happier I seem now, how much they like seeing me smile again. Sometimes I'll drive by the Target where Nicole used to work, and I'll just smile, not because I'm vengeful, but because justice is a beautiful thing. She thought she deserved better than me. It turns out, I deserved better than her. The best revenge isn't plotting someone's downfall. It's building a life so good that their absence improves it, not worsens it. Nicole taught me the most valuable lesson of my life. Self-respect is non-negotiable. Love without respect is just comfortable misery. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is to stop trying to fix something that was never meant to work. I never thanked her for that lesson, but in a weird way, those 31 rejections were the best thing that ever happened to me. They forced me to stop accepting crumbs and start demanding the full meal I deserved. Now, I'm living that full meal every single day, while she's still trying to convince herself that everyone else was the problem. Karma isn't always quick, but when it finally hits, it's a beautiful thing to watch. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.